Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. How you doing this morning, afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world. Yo, man, there's a lot going on in boxing. Like a war of words, man. Sitting back, listening to people talk. And some of the things they say about these fighters, man, don't get me wrong, I have a good sense of humor. I'm always joking in my videos. I can take anything and make it funny. Anything. But one thing, if you follow the channel, you know I don't mess around with is when you talk about, death and the deceased. I don't think anyone at all should speak negatively about anyone who has passed away. It doesn't matter what you may have agreed with or may not have agreed with when it comes to the person. Once they're gone, whatever, good, bad, whatever it is, let them take it with them. But if you're going to talk about them, talk about the good. That's why when it comes to Anthony Joshua and what he went through and is going through and going to probably be going through the rest of his life, I don't really have much to say about it, okay? Because, man, that is a very, very, very sad situation. Now, the thing is, everyone's talking about it. They want to get the clicks. I'm going to keep it pretty short and sweet, right? But he was in the car crash in Nigeria, and I saw when it first was reported. I put a few quick videos out, just to throw it out there to the people and also, get the clicks, right? I didn't understand the severity of what happened. Now, this is the thing. Two of his closest friends were tragically killed, right? Joshua survived with minor injuries, hospitalized in stable condition. Sounds like he's still in the hospital just as a precautionary measure. But this is what I want to tell people. And this is why I really don't have too much to say. And after I get this big, long video out the way about a number of things, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. One of his friends, now we had a caller who called it on the live the other night, my friend Motor Combat Boxing out of the UK. And he told me one of the guys in the vehicle, one of Anthony Joshua's close friends was decapitated. Now, I'm going to leave it at that right there. So for the Tyson Fury fans, the couple idiots who are saying, oh, this is how low can a person like AJ go to avoid fighting Tyson Fury? This is where the internet goes way, way, way too far. Whether you're trying to make a joke, whether you mean it, doesn't matter. That's beyond insensitive. That's beyond taking it to the stupid. That's the kind of shit, man, that can cause somebody to really lose their damn cool. And next thing you know, we got a huge problem. I couldn't believe. Well, I mean, you know what? I ain't gonna lie. I'll say I wasn't surprised at the comments that some people were making, but I was still shocked, if that makes sense. Like, I was like, damn. On the internet, nobody cares. Like, really, nobody cares. Joshua just experienced a life-altering event. These weren't just some people like his accountant or his doctor he see every now and then, talk business, go in there and have blood work done. And this isn't the case, man. He lost two friends who were part of his inner circle. Not like losing a casual acquaintance like the CPA or like the doctor. These were brothers in training and in life. These guys were attached to the hip, had a symbiotic relationship. But when you think about Anthony Joshua, and for those who are saying he's going to come back to the ring. I thought, okay, he got a few, bumps and bruises. He'll still be able to fight. But once I started to find out exactly all the details surrounding the accident, I said, shit. Trying to imagine him getting in training camp and being mentally locked in to go into another tune-up fight and then to the Tyson Fury fight later this year for over $100 million. I said, man, if he walks away from the sport, you can't blame him. Because I'm sitting here trying to think, how is he going to be effective? How does that work, man, when you go through something like that? You know what? It makes me think about when Lennox Lewis fought Oliver McCall. Oliver McCall had just lost his mother. And he got in the ring with Lennox Lewis, and he broke down in the ring. He started crying, and it was just a very uncomfortable moment. But that's why you got to understand the mental health after trauma. When it comes to boxers, people often talk about toughness, you know what I'm saying? But surviving when close friends die can trigger survivor's guilt, PTSD, anxiety, and even depression. Nobody talking about this. It's just like, oh, Joshua gonna get back in the ring and it's $100 million payday. And he and Eddie Hearn, what's Eddie Hearn gonna think? And you gotta shake it off. And I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Shake what off? Joshua probably replaying moments of the car crash, questioning the what if, and deal with the grief that impacts focus, sleep, and mood. How's he gonna deal with that shit? This man was in a car and he saw two of his closest and dearest friends, part of his inner circle, like family to him, die. And one was decapitated. He saw that shit. Do you understand? This is what he saw. Now, remember, I'm going based off of the reports I read about a severed body and going off of the caller from the UK who called in and said he was decapitated. But can you imagine seeing something like that? And you think he's going to be able to somehow regain focus, be able to sleep properly, and control his mood? How can you focus? It's bad enough the crap you see on here on Twitter, the videos that just pop up, the stuff you see on Instagram, the shit that people just throw out there on Facebook. You see some crazy stuff, but could you imagine being in a car and seeing something like that happen to someone who you consider family? You think that won't affect him mentally? That won't have an impact on his career? Physically, what's going to happen to that man? Emotionally, what's going to happen to him? Spiritually, psychologically, everything. What's going to happen to AJ? As far as him physically, he's probably fine. He'd probably be able to go and train and do things, get some bumps and bruises. But when I say physically, what's going to happen to him? If the mind is gone, it's going to be his motivation to go work out, to go and continue eating clean food and maintaining a diet and doing all the things that he was doing when he had the support of one of his friends, who was a person who was helping him with his strength and conditioning. These are people who were embedded in Anthony Joshua's life. It had a lot to do with Anthony Joshua's performance during training camp and getting ready for fights and in-ring performance. These people are gone now. And somehow they got some people out here thinking that he's going to be able to just go out of here, man, and pick up a new team and move forward and kumbaya and everything's going to be just fine. It doesn't work like that, man. So I'm concerned about his career impact. And I wonder about his training motivation, if it's going to waver. I would think it would. I think the meaning of risk changes. And I just think even if he's physically fine, when it comes to boxing, the sport where confidence and mental clarity are crucial, could feel less important after this kind of loss. may not want to do anything. Grief, man, like he can't go to the local pharmacy and say, hey, give me a tablet for grief. It's not like you're going for a headache or you have a runny nose or you have bronchitis and you go and get your Mucinex, your little Tylenol or whatever it is. There's no doxycycline, no amoxicillin, no penicillin. There's nothing out there they can get this man. Only thing that can help Anthony Joshua is time. And time doesn't resolve shit. It just makes it better to where you could somehow function. But at the point he's at in his career, how much time does he have on his hands? He's not getting younger. He's not in his prime anymore. These right here are his money-making years to cash out a few more big fights. And now he had this thrown on his plate. It's a lot, man. I just don't think there's much importance. I don't think you're going to place boxing as a priority. I'll put it to you that way. Now, as far as Eddie Hearn, I don't know what Eddie Hearn's going to do. I don't know what the conversations are going to be. I don't know what his obligations are to DAZN, to Riyadh season. I don't know if there's anything contractual that they're going to be like, okay, we understand. However, we had this contract, there's big money in place, and we need you to fulfill the contract. I don't know how that's going to work. But when it comes to a return to the ring, it's realistic, okay? I do think Joshua's mentally strong. I do think Joshua understands he had no control over that situation. Now, I don't know, people are saying, oh, they were speeding. I do believe that. But this thing about, alcohol and stuff, and I don't know anything about that, right? But I do believe they said, hey, basically driving a bit too fast and we're trying to overtake a vehicle and ran into a truck. I could see how something like that happened, man. But at the end of the day, it's sad. But Joshua has fought through adversity before, nothing like this. But if he does return, he may need extended time off. Emotional healing could be as long as physical or rehab. And this is similar to when fighters walk away after traumatic personal events and struggle to find their old edge. But I don't know if Anthony Joshua has the kind of time left to find his old edge. And I don't know what's going to be his motivation to keep fighting with Joshua already sitting on maybe close to $1 billion as far as the money he made from boxing, investments, and everything else. I know that was a goal of his to become a billionaire. But what's your motivation to continue doing this boxing bullshit after such a traumatic personal event? So the war words between a guy like me and these bozos online, it's ridiculous, man. And the thing is that a lot of elite fighters, Joshua's like one of the last of a dying breed, man. Those guys are starting to fade away, man. Him, Fury, Deontay Wilder. Even Usyk, like he ain't holding on too long. Crawford already bounced. Canelo, like he gonna fade off into the sunset. That we still talk about Mayweather like he's active. There's just a resource crisis. But anyway, I wish Anthony Joshua. I don't wishing him no luck or nothing. I don't have nothing to say because I just couldn't imagine. All I say is, I'm thinking about that guy. You know what I mean? I don't know him. All I know is we just know the boxing. We do videos, big him up, joke him. We do everything when it comes to boxing and fighters, when you're creating videos. But for this right here, all I'm going to say is I'm thinking about him. Because I ain't going to lie, I'm doing a video because I'm thinking about him. I've been thinking about that dude ever since I heard about that accident. Every day I think about him. And I don't even know him. But anyway, man, let's continue and talk about some of these other fighters because I got to take my son fishing. Gary Antuanne Russell versus Andy Hiroka. WBA for 140 pounds. Look, man, people still don't know who Gary Antuanne Russell is. Picked up that WBA super lightweight strap in March, and he's already one of the division's most technically polished and powerful fighters. Plus, the dude has a freakish engine. He has an expanded gas tank. He doesn't get tired. He is one of those guys who's hard to beat. Now, The WBA ordered Russell to defend his title against Andy Hiroka, a dangerous undefeated southpaw challenger. Now, that fight was planned and could still take place, early 2026. Sounds like it is. Keep hearing all kind of rumors about dates, but I'm going to wait till I see the press conference before I come out here getting excited. But what all this means is for Russell, this is a fight that legitimizes his reign and demonstrates his standing against top competition. Now, for Hiroka, this is a chance to break through the world stage and earn major recognition. In case y'all didn't know, all those Russell brothers can scrap. But for Hiroka, if he clips Gary Antuanne Russell, it's almost like he took down all the brothers. Bottom line is this matchup gives you room to discuss styles, stakes, division direction. If, in fact, the fight, when the press conference happens, because it sounds like the fight's going to take place, but once you see the press conference, man, and then you see what the outcome is as far as who wins. But a damn good matchup. Glad to see Gary Antuanne Russell staying busy. Hopefully we can see him fight some of the other guys at 140, the bigger names, and get that Wu-Tang cream, cha-ching, ching, dollar bill, y'all. Now, speaking of 140, matter of fact, 140 to 147, Keyshawn Davis, he's back. Now, Keyshawn, 13-0, 9 KOs, back from the layoff, scheduled to fight Jermaine Ortiz at Madison Square Garden on January 31st. He's going to be on the Teofimo Lopez, Shakir Stevenson card. But the story is, he is not being taken seriously because they see him as a clown because of the buffoonery that he displayed when he was supposed to fight Edwin De Los Santos and miss weight. Then decided he was going to go out there and try to intimidate and jump Naoya Inoue after Naoya Inoue beat his brother's ass. So can he be taken seriously? I'll say this. I think yes, but with some context, right? This is a big step for his return after vacating his title due to weight issues previously, Taking a meaningful opponent instead of an easy tune-up shows confidence and seriousness about regaining championship momentum. But some wonder if he can do it since he no longer has Bomac. He no longer has his old team. He has a brand new team. And just makes you wonder how he's going to look because his new team, they don't quite have the credibility of a guy like Bomac, who's proven himself to be a very effective trainer. You just look at what he did with Terrence Crawford. But irregardless, Davis must show discipline, progress his skills, then rebuild his reputation. Can he do that? I don't know. He's still out here on social media, talking the talk, trying to walk the walk, being really animated. And I'll be honest with you, I think people are just tired of his shit. Like, he just made such a clown of himself with that Edwin De Los Santos fight he missed out on that fight card where so many people showed up to see him fight. And he disappointed him in the way he acted when his brother lost. People look at him like he's a clown. And he's the same guy who was smoking weed and everything else. They just see him as a clown right now. But he got to try to figure it out and figure a way to rebuild his reputation, man, and get back in the ring. But with him, I'll say, good luck, but hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid. I don't have much faith in him. Can he fight? Yeah, every fight he was getting better and better under Bomac. I don't know why he tried to pull that bullshit with Edwin De Los Santos. Well, I know why, because he knew De Los Santos could fight and probably knock him out. But I just think he missed out on $1 million payday. I know he called himself the businessman and money ain't everything, and he probably already has money, but I just don't understand why you would throw away an opportunity like that. Squander an opportunity to get a real legitimate, credible opponent's name on your resume. But anyway, we'll see if he's able to pull things together, man. Now, Richardson Hitchins in the 140-pound division. Hitchins is I think he's the IBF super lightweight champion. Been quietly dominant. He's a well-funded, well-rounded technical boxer with a strong unbeaten run. He did get in there and do the business at Kambosos Jr. Most of us felt he was going to win. People were shocked at how he beat him. And then some are asking, he kind of built like Tommy Hearns, He's tall, long, got the jab. They're like, can he dominate? Can he dominate 140, become undisputed, go to 147, dominate 147? I don't know. But what I will say is his boxing IQ, jab, and distance control are viewed as elite for a 140-pound champion, I agree with that 100%. There's something special about Richardson Hitchins. And as long as he continues to fight, quality opponents, and Eddie Hearn and Matchroom are going to make sure that they navigate his career. I think, I'm not going to say safety first. I put there'll be a lot of risk mitigation with arranging his fights. But if he avoids reckless matchups and stays focused, I think his skill set can sustain him among top challengers. 100% I believe that. So I just think it's a matter of talking about whether it's pure boxing ability and if his pure boxing ability is going to be enough against hungry power punchers at 140. That to me is the conversation. Now, Canelo, Viva Mexico Cabrones. You got to hear the Mexican horns going off when Canelo's name gets mentioned. This shit about the IBF ordering Canelo to face Iglesias. Look, there's this vacant belt that surfaced as a result of Terrence Crawford retiring. I don't know if Guadalajara, Jalisco's finest, really wants to come out here and fight for any more titles. If he's trying to go on another run to pick up all the belts at 168 again. What I do know is he has 2 fights left with Turkey al-Sheikh. When Turkey's in the house, every day is Thanksgiving. But I just don't know if Canelo wants to continue. But we'll see what happens. What's his motivation? I think at this stage in his career, Canelo's focus, I think it may be on legacy fights, definitely big money opportunities, and just challenging himself at elite levels, but it has to be fights that he finds interesting. He already said that. No one's going to make Canelo fight Iglesias. Canelo's not doing it. He's going to want to fight someone who interests him. I don't think Iglesias interests Canelo. So as far as anyone thinking that is going to happen, Canelo ain't going to do that shit. I can't see him fighting this guy. No way. Hamza Shiraz, Chris Eubank Jr., I can see those kind of fights taking place, especially Chris Eubank Jr. Or a Charlo, or Jamal Charlo, or somebody like that. I just don't see him fighting Iglesias. But if he wants that IBF strap, I guess he'll go at him, But I'll say this. Even with elite skill and timing, motivation sometimes shifts for fighters with long, accomplished careers, and that could be the case with Canelo. And this adds to me a talking point on whether he still wants to compete versus just chase monster paydays. And that's going to matter big time, and that's going to be it's going to be interesting to see how that plays into, if he takes the fight, his training camp and his in-ring performance on fight night. But one thing for sure, Canelo out here getting the monster payday, or the Wu-Tang cream, cha-ching-ching, dollar bill, y'all. And when he comes back and announces a fight, the Mexican horns are going to go off. Viva Mexico Cabrones. Now, Naoya Inoue, I don't think nobody beating that dude. I think Bruce Carrington makes it interesting. He got a good chance. Nick Ball has a good chance, but for Naoya Inoue, I don't know what his motivation is to keep fighting. This man be out here just defending titles, winning titles, knocking people out, looking unstoppable. Bantamweight, super bantamweight. This man could probably go all the way up to 130, 135 and still do the business. You know what I'm saying? But what's the motivation? When a fighter dominates with ease, public critics sometimes question the future challenges. Fighters like Inoue often respond by seeking bigger fights, stepping up in weight, or unifying titles. And that's my question. When you got this guy coming out of Japan, the samurai warrior, what's the motivation? So what does he do? Does he move up again? I think that's a strategic question. Higher weight offers more legacy opportunities, but requires finding meaningful opponents. And that's going to be his problem. Anyways, probably going to end up taking a defeat by going up too far in weight. But you got to put some respect on his name. Because right now, you can just look at him in the ring. He's like 3-4 steps ahead of everybody. Power, timing, defense, conditioning. He has everything. The dude's a freak of nature, man. But We just got to see if he's going to move up in weight. I think the higher weight offers more legacy opportunities, but requires finding meaningful opponents. And, can he do that? I think he can. But out there in Riyadh season, they got to pay him some serious cha-ching-ching. Because if he's going to keep going up in weight, I mean, they're going to have to pay him. They're going to have to pay him. And I don't think that will be a problem. Now, speaking of somebody continuing in motivation, what about my boy Tim Tszyu? Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. At 154, what's his fight strategy? Now, you got to understand Tim Tszyu's position. Tim Tszyu's been top contender, expected to navigate the elite 154-pound fighters. I don't know if he should jump right back into no big fight with these guys. That's just my opinion. I don't think he should. I think Tim Tszyu should just sit back there in the breeze, take three, maybe another 2 fights, man, where they're competitive right there in Australia, make his little Wu-Tang cream. And don't worry about trying to fight a Duran or definitely leave Fundora alone, Murtazali alone. Get your shit together. Really gel with your new coach, Pedro Diaz, and get in there and make sure everything you guys have worked on is firing on all cylinders. Then once you kind of get the momentum going and your name is buzzing again, then you come out here because now the iron's hot and you strike when the iron's hot and do the business. But I do think if he just jumps into something in his next fight, feeling, I'm back, what's my fucking name? Your name could be Hold Your Horses, Don't Take It to the Stupid. If he just all of a sudden starts feeling himself and jumps back in there with someone who can clip him. But I just think he needs to chill out. The conditioning, matchup timing, and risk assessment, all of that matters for Tim Tszyu. Conditioning, he's always had good conditioning. It needs to be superb. Matchup timing, his team needs to do a much better job of matching him up in fights right now. Let him rebuild, get the confidence back, and then see about putting him in a high-risk situation. It's all about risk assessment, people. All about risk assessment. Now, fighters who jump elite competition before they're fully ready to risk losses, that derails the momentum. Tim Tszyu has had his momentum derailed twice. He can't afford to have it derailed a third time during this reconstitution phase. So I just think it's important to understand smart career pacing and how that can affect long-term legacy. And for Tim Tszyu, that's what we're talking about. Long-term legacy. And for him, smart career pacing. Can't be stupid. They had to be smart. That being said, Anthony Joshua forever changed after the tragic crash. Losing those friends probably ended AJ's career. I just know he has certain obligations and stuff, things contractually he hasn't fulfilled, but man, I just think it's ended his career early. Gary Antuanne Russell and Hiroka, don't sleep on that fight. I'm telling you, man, them guys can scrap. Keyshawn Davis returning, hey, can he really get back on track? That's the question. But Richardson Hitchins, Rule 140, we're going to find out. But I tell you what, Eddie Hearn ain't going to make a mistake with him. He's going to put him in fights that he knows he can win or he should win before he cashes him out for a big $50 million fight or something. Then he'll throw him in a 50-50 fight because then it's worth it. And the IBF is trying to force Canelo into a fight, which, trust me, Canelo, he gonna do what he wants. Canelo don't give one shit about no Iglesias, no IBF belt. He's going to do what he wants. And Naoya Inoue, he can do what hell he wants to. It seems like that man could go up and fight a heavyweight and probably clip somebody. That's how dominant and talented he is. But for Tim Tszyu, don't be Inoue because you're not Inoue. Too soon to jump to the elite competition. Sit back in the breeze and get your shit together before you go mess with them killers. Y'all keep cool. Time for me to take my boy fishing. I'm in the breeze.